for Mr. Anthony Boyle, our independent person. Can I ask if there are any declarations of interest in relation to any item? That's a no. To consider any matter of urgencies to admit onto the agenda as a delay would not be in the interest of the efficient operation of the service? No. There are no items of exempt business to consider on this agenda. So, agenda item 2, minutes of the previous meetings, pages 5 to 8. The minutes of the last Audit Committee held on the 27th of September 2022 are submitted for approval. Can these please be approved? Agreed. Thank you. Item 3 is the annual report from Grant Thornton, and I'll pass over to Georgia Jones, who will take us through the report. Thank you, Georgia.
Thank you, Chair. So if we start on page 13 of the agenda, which is the executive summary. So this is our report, the auditor's annual report on the value for money arrangement. So as you'll be aware, this report doesn't say that the service delivers value for money. It looks at whether you have the arrangements in place to enable you to deliver value for money. This is a retrospective look at the arrangements in place for 2021-22, so year ending 31st of March 22. So on that executive summary page, I'm sure you can tell from that it's a very positive report overall. So you can see that kind of we've not identified any risk of significant weakness across the different criteria, those 3 criteria set out there. And you can also see last year's judgments and this year's judgments just for comparison there. So last year we had 3 improvement recommendations around governance. So we're satisfied they have been addressed as the actions that management agreed to last year. And that's set out further in the report. We just have 1 improvement recommendation around improving economy, efficiency and effectiveness, which is detailed later in the report. So just on the following page, that just sets out again really that in just very slightly more detail across the 3 areas. And on page 15, it just kind of confirms that we completed the audit of the financial statements and issued an unqualified opinion at the end of November. Members will kind of recall that actually the work was substantially completed at the end of September. We'll report it to you. And all we were waiting for was the issuance from the pension auditor, which came through, and so we were able to issue that unqualified opinion. We've not had to use any of our statutory powers, which obviously is a positive and good thing. The next page just sets out the 3 criteria that we look at, just gives kind of the detail around them, really, just for your information. And then it goes into the body of the report, which kind of gives the details of the kind of our findings around each of those 3 areas. I'm not actually proposing to talk through that in detail. I'll take the report as read, but obviously we'll be happy to answer questions at the end. So it just sets out the different areas we've looked at, our conclusions around those different areas and our findings. And then, so it's kind of financial sustainability, then governance, and then you've got improving economy, efficiency and effectiveness. And then if you go to page 26 of the agenda, that sets out that improvement recommendation. So this is around an issue that members are already aware of in terms of the utilities contract and the monitoring of that and the kind of the issues that were raised previously. So this is just kind of the recommendation to make sure that kind of contracts are kind of identified and monitored on a regular basis, and the authority has already put those arrangements in place because this is obviously a retrospective look. But in 22-23, we will follow that up to make sure that has been carried through and actions appropriately. Then the following page just shows the follow-up of last year's recommendations to just remind you what they were. The actions have been taken and we're satisfied they have been implemented. And in the body of the report, it sets out that in a bit more detail what we found around those and what we looked at. So further action is not required on those. And that's it really, kind of that's the kind of the body of the report, so I'm happy to take any questions around it.
Many thanks for that. Are there any questions? Councillor Nicholson.
Thank you, Chair. Just regarding the electricity contract, I was wondering if you have any view on whether the best value for money is being provided by using the City Council as an intermediary, rather than simply going directly to Crown Commercial Services, which is what the City Council have been doing.
So really, it's up to kind of the members and kind of officers to decide your policy on where you're going to obtain your utilities from. What we're looking at the arrangements, so we don't make a judgment on value for money, as I kind of said at the beginning. What we're looking at is the arrangements that were in place. So obviously, those arrangements in place with that particular contract, there was kind of, issues with that. I'm not going to comment on kind of local city council, what they do. So I think all I can comment on is the arrangements this authority has in place. So as I say, it's kind of going forward, those contracts really do need to be managed so that something like that would be identified at an earlier stage where possible and would be able to be dealt with at an earlier stage, and potentially then, the kind of the spend would reflect that.
Come back quickly. Probably not a question for you, but a wider issue to consider. With the increased oversight that's now required on this contract, is that extra work involved greater than managing the contract ourselves?
I think in terms of, as you said, the way we procure the contract, we would have gone the same route as Liverpool in terms of the framework. And then in terms of once you signed up to that framework, you sign up for a period of 1, 2 or 3 years. So the monitoring element would just be, I think, to through the framework, whether the supplier is at risk or in danger. And we do that currently through Liverpool, as you say, but we also, through the head of states, communicate with Liverpool on a regular basis to see if anything's coming up. But at the moment, as we report to members, I can't remember the exact date, we extended the framework arrangement for a period of, I think it's 3 years, but we'll keep that under review. So I don't think the work in terms of whether we monitor or Liverpool, and the monitoring side would be great. I think it's the specialist knowledge that we haven't got in-house that Liverpool do have. And we seek guidance from them about, whether it's a green agenda or the type of options available to us. We do rely on them to direct us a little bit on that, not so much monitoring, but how we procure.
Chairman, mentioned that to that as well. So definitely the benefits of it in relation to economy of scale. So as far as we say, as procuring utilities, we are only relatively small. We combine us with the local authority and others, and then the economies of scale are recognised through that procurement process. And I think, just to emphasise that there's benefits of doing it in that way, so long as the governance is in place to ensure that it is managed effectively, and that's what we've sought to do over the course of the last number of months, really. And then just reiterate kind of Ian's point around the review, the monitoring, the skills and the capabilities that are held within the local authority, not necessarily held within the Merseyside Fire and Rescue Authority. So we have, and that report that went back to the members previously, detailed kind of the considerations in relation to the procurement of utilities, and we still feel it was more beneficial to remain within the local authority contractual arrangement through CCS. So absolutely understand the kind of points and principles of the kind of question, but we are sure that that is the most suitable way to procure at this moment of time. But equally, now we have strengthened the safeguards that we have in place to ensure that we are monitoring and reviewing that contractual arrangement more robustly than we have done in the past.
Councillor Malone.
Yes, thanks, Chair. Page 17, there's a draft showing 3 years where we come on the budget, 3% of years, there's a surplus each of those years. Can you just break down on that?
Yeah, members receive, after we set the budget in February, we bring to members, and it's on today's agenda, a quarterly financial review. And in that quarterly financial review, we do identify a variance. Historically, that's been favourable, and we explain why that is. Often, if you take the employee budget, particularly on the non-operational, we are struggling with recruitment and retention at the moment. And what we discovered this year, as an example, is that you substantially have a saving on that staff budget because of those vacancies. What we then do is advise members, because it's a one-off, that we suggest you either do increase their capital reserves to reduce borrowing, or you use it for some other one-off type investment. So you have regular reports to advise you of that. And if we go back in the years, we probably found it's due to employee savings or underspend between year end on some non-paid budgets, whether that be phone supplies, computer supplies, and the report details the reasons for that. So we will see later on today the report highlighting for Q3 a small saving and how that saving has arisen and what we intend to do with it. So there is a regular report to members on that.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Gorman.
Yeah, just in terms of the recommendation, is this an issue that's wholly arisen in 21/22, or were we aware of it possibly flaring up before that?
So I think my understanding is it was towards the end of kind of 21/22, it came to light, I think, and then obviously kind of there's been investigation into it since then. So because this is a respective look at the arrangements that were in place during that year, it's reported in here sort of thing, but obviously potentially things kind of moved on since the kind of the look back at those arrangements.
Okay, no more questions. We'll go on to agenda item 4, which is Thornton Progress Report and Sector Update. Again, we'll hand over to Georgia Jones. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So this is just our regular progress report, just to let you know how we're progressing during the audit each year. So really started from page 38 of the agenda, just really confirms now that we've brought the previous report that we've just discussed to this committee, that really just ties down and finishes all the work for 21/22. So we are now starting our planning for 22/23. The deadline has moved forward this year, so rather than accounts having to be signed on the 30th of November, it will be the 30th of September, and that indeed is what we are aiming for and working with officers to achieve. So we're starting our planning, we'll do some interim work in April, and we'll bring kind of an audit plan to this committee, and the results of the interim work, hopefully to the next committee. Again, and then just as we've been talking about, we'll start our value for money work, we'll follow up that recommendation we've just discussed, and we'll take another look through the arrangements to make sure they're still operating as we would expect, and or if there's been any changes. Then the following page just confirms that obviously we continue to meet with officers. We also run a chief accountants workshop to which we invite your finance team just to kind of discuss and highlight any emerging issues that might impact on the financial statements. And that's just some background about audit fees. So in general, obviously kind of audit fees have been increasing in the last kind of couple of years. I mean, 21/22, we were able to keep the audit fee within the fee that we've quoted in the audit plan because the audit went very smoothly. And obviously, we always kind of look to work with officers to kind of continue that going forward. The next page just sets out the audit deliverables, again confirming 21/22 is complete, and just giving you those dates for 22/23. So audit plan around May, or if not before. The audit plans report and the opinion set by the end of September, and then we have kind of 3 months after the end of September to deliver our value for money work, but again, we'll obviously look to do that as soon as possible. The remainder of the report is really just a sector update, just kind of various articles and reports that might be of interest to members, so I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions from the members? I just wanted to point out that on page 44, the paragraph from Philip Wooley, Head of Public Services, it's just that little section sort of saying the government has faced unprecedented demands and pressures over the last decade. And I think that's sort of evident everywhere, isn't it? Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Georgia. No other questions, comments? We'll move on to agenda item 5.
Can I just ask that members note those items 3 and 4? Please.
Thank you. Agenda item 5, financial review 2022 to 23, October to December, of Director of Finance and Procurement. I'll hand over to Ian Cummins. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. The report covers the revenue and capital budgets, reserves, treasury management updates up to the 31st of December 2022. The revenue position is covered in paragraph 6 to 14, pages 53 to 56. Paragraph 7 outlines the budget movements in the third quarter. As all of the adjustments are self-balancing, they have not impacted on the approved net budget requirements, and therefore that remains unchanged at £61,792,000. Paragraphs 11 to 13 on pages 55 to 56 summarise the latest forecast revenue position, and officers have identified a favourable variance of £250,000. £100,000 of the saving relates to the non-uniform employee budget due to vacancies, and £150,000 relates to additional investment income due to interest rate rises. As outlined in paragraph 12 on the report, the proposal is to use the £250,000 favourable saving to increase the capital reserve in order to reduce future capital borrowing. In terms of the capital, paragraphs 15 to 16 on pages 56 to 57 summarise the capital changes in the quarter. Paragraph 15A outlines a planned rephasing of 7.6 million capital schemes into 23-24. And this accounts for most of the quarter 3 capital changes. The report outlines the reason for the rephasing, with the revised new TDA station bill profile accounting for 5 million of the rephasing. The overall change to the capital programme is outlined in Appendix B and C, and that can be found on pages 69 to 83. The reserves movements in the quarter are outlined on paragraphs 17 to 20, on pages 57 to 58. In quarter 3, a £5 million contribution to the TDA reserve was made as a result of the rephasing some of the planned spend into 23-24, and the reserve will be carried forward to meet the rephased spend in 23-24. The report recommends using the forecast revenue saving of £250,000 to increase the capital reserve. Treasury management performance is outlined in paragraphs 21 to 26 on pages 58 to 60. The performance of Treasury management was consistent with the approved Treasury management strategy for the year, and at the end of December, the authority held £47.6 million of investments, and a breakdown of these is contained on the table on page 60. All investments are consistent with the approved investment strategy and within the limits outlined in paragraph 24. No new loans have been taken out in the year. In summary, members are asked to note the report, approve the revenue, capital and reserve adjustments outlined in the report, increase the capital reserve by £250,000 funded from the favourable variance, and instruct the Director of Finance and Procurement to continue to work with managers to maximise savings in the year. I'm happy to take any questions on the report.
Thank you, Ian. Are there any questions from members? No. Is everybody happy to agree with the recommendation to note the report, approve the proposed revenue and capital budget alignments, approve the use of 0.250 million forecast favourable revenue variance to fund an increase in the capital reserve in order to reduce future debt servicing costs, and instruct the Director of Finance and Procurement to continue to work with budget managers and maximise savings in 2022-23. That was a lot, wasn't it? Thank you. Item 6, Internal Audit Progress Report, April to December 2022. Again, it's Director of Finance and Procurement.
Thanks, Chair. Before I introduce the report, we've got Melanie Dexter here from the City Council Internal Audit. If there's any questions about any of the audits done so far, Melanie will be happy to answer any questions. The purpose of the report is to update members on the progress of the 22-23 Internal Audit Plan that was approved by the Audit Committee in June. The progress report is attached as Appendix B. 4 audits have either been completed or the findings are still to be signed off. Most of the audit work will be commenced and completed as planned in quarter 4. This allows the auditors to review how systems and controls have operated over the majority of the year under review. A year-end internal audit plan will come to members for consideration at the next meeting. Members are asked to note the report. I'm happy to take any questions on the report.
Thank you, Ian. Any questions from members? Okay. Is everybody happy to note the contents of this report? Okay. Okay, so the meeting is now closed. And I thank you all for your attendance. Thank you very much.
Okay.